I'm keeping an eye on the participants. I anticipate that a lot of people are taking advantage of the long weekend. We've had a lot of folks tell us that much, I think, on the last profiling call. So I might just give it another minute and also another minute because I'm running a modification in one of the things that we're going to look at today. So I was hoping that I would be able to get that showing as one of our first agenda items. While we wait another minute for people to join, did anybody have fun plans for the long weekend?
My daughter and grandchildren are backpacking for 2 days up around Nordegg. I guess that's fun plans, but
yeah,
she had to buy a backpack for the dog because the rule is that everybody carries their own food. And dog food is, yes, and dog food is heavy.
I am like the spoiled dog mom that 100% thought you meant she was going to carry the dog in the backpack.
Oh, no. This is not that small a dog.
I have burners at home and I get all these stories sometimes about like people will go and they'll take them on hikes in Colorado and they're the kind of dog that will just be like, I don't want to go any further. And they'll have to be like airlifted off of these like giant like trailheads.
Well, this is 5 kilometers in 2 days and 5 kilometers back.
Yeah.
Because it's the first time they've done backpack. They've done like 16 kilometers in a day trip with the 5-year-old, but with the backpacks, they're keeping it short for, yeah.
That sounds
because school already started actually on Tuesday here. So,
geez, I think ours is starting in Nova Scotia after the break.
Yeah.
All right, I've got this displaying my IG publisher is almost done running. Can you guys see my agenda screen?
Yes.
Beautiful. Okay. So really 2 main topics today. Both of them are kind of like topics that we're returning to. So with the goal of closing out and I think confirmation. So we for our kind of 2 main areas of discussion, wanted to make sure we cover any of the finer details and like confirm we're comfortable with what we've documented in the last session, review any of the feedback on the Info Central post on it. We didn't get any, but I figured I would just pull it up and double check. And then try to finalize like where we sit so that we're at least able to kind of confirm next steps in terms of utilizing this for the tobacco smoking status profile and then putting it forward to HL7 Canada as a proposed process to consider for other guides. And then the second piece, in our last profiling call, we talked about the contributor section and there were some asks to just put forward a modified view that would allow for the descriptions of the roles to be included in the table and to also allow for kind of separation and more distinction of names. And so I've just been playing around with a couple different ways that we could do that Markdown. I was going to show it to you guys, see what you guys like the most, and then we can put in that change to the guide. Is there anything that else that we want to make sure made it on the agenda for today? If not, it might be a short one, but we'll just push through it. Okay, so in terms of the first item, which is kind of like our deprecation process and getting feedback on it, we ended last session effectively saying we feel really good about 85% of this. And there's a piece that we've talked about, but we're not 100% sure of quite yet, and we want to give the public an opportunity to comment as a whole and also give us some chance to think about, whether or not we're comfortable with where things landed. So I put out the post. It was a little delayed. I think I put it on Wednesday. I didn't see any traction for it. But there was I thought I saw a view of views. Maybe it's in this other view. Obviously it's been a busy week this week, so I know let's see if it's here. I search. There's like, it used to be you could see the kind of metrics from that view just to see how many folks we actually reached and just didn't have opinions on it, but I'm not seeing. Hold on. Friday, August 30th. here we go. Okay, 22 views. So not as much as like our normal agenda posts, but you know, I haven't heard anybody make any comment outside of the conversations that we've been having. We can certainly, obviously, it's going to remain up, and if we get feedback, we can bring it back to the governance call. But we've had a lot of time to at least start talking through the kind of what do we want to do if something is early draft and hasn't been published, versus what if it's been published and has some middle level maturity versus higher level maturity. And we kind of left off, sounded like folks were really comfortable with everything up into this. And we started 2 sessions ago talking about this kind of last final detail piece, which is like, when can we remove the content? And the compromise that was floated 2 sessions ago that we kind of came back to last time was 2 major releases or 2 years, whatever comes first. We haven't heard, it was part of what was put out on the post. We haven't really heard anything negative around that. It probably, I might break this out as like a future, like separate topic unrelated to deprecation that we might want to tackle in our governance calls. But like, from what you folks have heard to date and kind of lack of concern that we're seeing from the community, does this seem like a fair compromise for us to at least try to start with? I think it weighed both the kind of the practicality with the some more common convention that we're seeing in some of the jurisdictions for how long something kind of remains in the specs.
Okay, can you move your cursor there? That's better.
Yeah.
So I can read it. I mean, I think we just have to pick something to try, and I don't think that's a bad compromise.
Yeah. And I think realistically, like, to begin with, it'll probably be, well, we'll see what the next 2 years look like. But well, more than that, I think, because some of our content has to be normative. But
yeah.
I think if no one's uncomfortable with the compromise, I think I could understand how we'll actualize against it. So what I'm proposing is, because we've given folks now probably 4 weeks to talk about this, to get comfortable with it, we proposed a compromise that we start by trialing this, and we recommend it to HL7 Canada. And if we get any further feedback in the process in the next couple of weeks, we can always also raise it up through HL7 Canada and say, okay, you know, we had this conversation, we thought this made sense from a baseline perspective, but that just allows folks that ability that like the window for communication isn't cut off if they're uncomfortable with it. And then I'll move this one to a future governance topic, because I think there was some questions around like the protocols for like how in detail are we going to get with our application of normative flags? Is it just like on profiles, or are we looking to do it like on decision points within the profiles, or just on implementation guides, for example? So folks are comfortable with this. I think we'll move forward with this as the content that we put forward for HL7 Canada, and that we document as kind of our initial starting process for deprecating content in the baseline, or for removing it, if depending on the level of maturity and the publish status. With that in mind, the next time that we come to a profiling call, which is next week, we're going to bring up the pending motion that we had started in profiling, basically say, here's the process that we've, you know, it went to governance to say, hey, establish a protocol. We've now established a protocol. The outcome of that protocol, based on the current status of tobacco use, is likely going to be to remove it entirely and because it is still FMM, I think it's 1, it would likely just be able to be removed without applying a deprecated flag. Put that forward, circulate it back, ask for the vote as from profiling, because that's the group that originally brought it up. Does that make sense? That way we'll have circle back to the official decision, and we will see that decision populated in 1.2 is my my anticipation. All right. If that makes sense to other folks, I can show you guys a little bit about what I was working on right before I got on the call. So we reviewed the contributors section and kind of precedents for it last profiling call. And we talked about where we would want it, what it should look like, made sure that folks were comfortable with like the actual kind of categories or roles and the way that we describe them, and came up with a process for how we would be asking people through our feedback channels to further self-identify themselves. So I think we have like the process down. The one thing that folks were asking for was just the ability to actually show what it would look like if we wanted to make a modification to be a little bit closer to this, but with some separation, so that everything was in one cell, but we could have some kind of spacing out for easier reading. So I tried a couple different options in Markdown that I'm going to refresh and review with you guys. So I'll pull up my actual source file too. So the one that is just essentially the table and like the name against a role, just pretty simple. It's 2-column. This is the first option that folks looked at last time and didn't like as much. So then the one with the role description. So there's nothing like really fancy here that's controlling like the size of certain columns, but effectively some of it is determined based on how long your like the actual content in any given column is. So this first one was one that I was showing with, let me see, everybody listed on one line. So this primary authors is showing that kind of first modeling. So if this was extended down to the contributors, it would be a much larger block of text. But that is essentially one option to keep it into one cell. The second option leverages blocks. So like blocks of 3. So I've just got like breaks here. So it's like 1, 2, 3. We could make it 2, but the only thing is it makes everything condensed over here. And then the last one is just putting spaces. So this would be like, this is what it looks like if we do breaks all the way down. And this is what it looks like if we don't do breaks and we have instead spaces in between names. It does, I think, utilize whatever the smallest grouping is. So that's why I think we're seeing things that are still kind of about a third of the page.
Well, and it'll vary based on the size of the window people have open.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually think
Looks
the first
weird,
one,
but
which lets it flow,
this one.
is better myself.
Yeah, let's take a look at what happens when we resize the window too. Because so that one will resize, like, so that was the one, the top option that you were looking at, right, Lorraine?
Correct.
So they all do some degree, like, but it does like the third one where it's like blocks of 3, it resizes and then it gives you a break, right?
Yes.
So that one's a little awkward.
I think the one with the spaces looks most readable.
With the spaces, but without the hard breaks after each name.
Yeah. So like what
Yeah.
you have contributors there.
Which one? Are you talking about this one?
Yeah.
Randy?
That one looks real because that space makes it so the names don't all just flow together, which is kind of the issue in my mind anyways.
And Lorraine, were you reacting to this one, right?
Well, the only difference between that and what Randy just talked about is more spaces between the names.
Yeah.
And I'm okay. That's either way works.
Okay.
If it makes it clear with more spaces, I think adding a hard break after every name just is going to make things too big.
I wouldn't want to do that. But
Yeah, and both of them will resize between the spaces and the just the continuous text will both resize. So
Okay, so let me just do a quick replace. We will replace the breaks with, I've got it set for 2.
Let's get 4 going in now.
What's that?
Set it to replace it with 4 instead of 2.
Oh, whoops. Good catch. Oh, I understand. Okay.
And the replace is not 4. There you go.
These guys. We'll come back to fixing those, but this way we can at least get. Okay, and then we'll put these guys up top. We'll run it, and if we like it, we can commit it. This is like HTML, right? Like, is it gonna give me guff if I don't have a space in between a name and the tag?
Shouldn't need one.
Yeah, okay. Then I won't worry about fixing it down below. I just will get it in,
Load it. We'll see real quick if it does have an issue with it.
right? All right. Am I missing it anywhere? Does everyone see page breaks are out? Everything's double. All right, let's give it a try. This will take like a minute or two, but it'll at least tell us whether or not we're happy with it enough to put in the commit. And then if we are, then this is the other thing that I will remove. So with that, and everybody likes the
Just
everything, the role description
I
comfortable
think
with
you
it?
might get. I think you might get 4 spaces.
Which one?
Like when you added the at or the and NBSP, because it's like space, 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 and you have a space.
But it should ignore the regular spaces
You
because
think
you're
so? Because it thinks it's a big string, but we'll find out, like you said.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
I think this one is recognizing 4, right? So I think we'll just want consistency. If we like the way that this looks with the 4 spaces, this one might be 5.
Okay.
wait till it refreshes and see what it actually
Yeah.
looks.
And if you know that other folks have been involved in your organization and you want to have your review, I think one of the things that we talked about last week was just making sure that who's new, they could provide that feedback and like self-identify to get added. But many of us have, you know, a handful of folks that are part of our organization that contribute. Let's see. Let you guys see what's running in the background. I had to temporarily remove the observation results one that we've been working on, the profiling one. So that won't be part of this build, but we shall see. All right, last minute while we work through this. Anyone seeing any spelling issues before we? Nearly done. Mm. Oh, interesting. Okay. There's something that it doesn't like. So I wonder if it's, let's take a look. Okay. So things that we changed from the last time, we removed the table that was up there. We added more of these. Let's see if we can add a space into some of these and see if that fixes it. I think I saw it anywhere else. So let's run this once more. Yep, and our table has a oh, maybe that's what it doesn't like. Oh no, it's there. Never mind. Any other updates that folks want to make sure they see on this page before we that this is successful and we're happy with it before we push the commit? Oh, maybe this is it. Woohoo! Okay. This is what it looks like with the spaces. What do folks think? I like that this is like more condensed than before. It was bothering me earlier that it was like everything was crunched.
I think it looks okay like that because the names are readable easily.
Obviously, depending on like how large your screen is and that kind of thing, like some things may change, but All
But
right.
it should resize smoothly that way.
Yep.
So I'm happy with this.
Cool. All right, then I will push up this change, put in a PR, and we will get this put through. Happy that we were able to kind of come to a compromise on what we thought made sense. Okay. I think that's it that I had. Let me just double check. So we talked about contributor section, we reviewed what that looked like, we talked about the deprecation process, confirmed that piece. And then, oh, so my anticipation, obviously, like we save these and we have like these as documentation. We don't have any reason to like host this in the actual implementation guide as a protocol, right? Like, are we comfortable with essentially this being an established protocol that we've documented through like our governance call materials?
I don't think it belongs in the implementation guide.
Yeah.
I think it belongs either in like a set of processes that we've defined as a governance team, or it belongs, if accepted, in a set of processes that are defined by HL7 Canada.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it goes like the same place as the eventual description we use for this deprecation process stuff. I mean, not in this specific guide, but like in that general space where we have overall discussions and things. I'm not sure how we put it there, but you'd want it on a place you could at least link to.
Okay. So maybe we wait to see, because like, so HL7 Canada, like, and Baseline have like document folders on Info Central. Maybe what we do is put it forward to HL7 Canada, and if it gets accepted, we could link out towards the wherever the document folder is for those types of materials. Because my guess is also like this normative flags, there's also going to be a protocol that we might want to push through in the same way. They might live.
But I'm thinking more like the way we have with like the instructions for requesting OIDs and URIs, rather than in a document thing, have an actual tools page or notes cut on there.
Yeah, actually, I'd like to see the instructions for requesting URIs and things actually in the same spot, but I still.
Where is that?
Tools, I think here.
Oh, it's under tools. Let me see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
the same kind of display as this for these kind of overarching.
Yeah. I think we're gonna get too many of them for here, but I see what you're saying.
Or maybe a whole new category for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I guess the question is, does it belong in this structure on Info Central, or does it belong on an HL7 Canada website as we develop it? And that's sort of an HL7 Canada question.
Mm-hmm.
Well, once we have one, yeah, but until that exists, I would like to see it in this kind of form, just because it's more visible and easier to find, rather than having it hidden in a document someplace. Not to say that you can't have a document form that's, you know, like a PDF extract of it or whatever, but
yeah, I feel like we have this key, we've got key resources on this page. So I don't actually know. Okay, it links up to the various like let me see. This is more tools. Well, let's put it so we're gonna bring it forward. I think we said on the next community and council call, and basically indicate, you know, if the council goes through, or if HL7 Canada goes through the process of adopting it, asking them, you know, is it possible for you know, some location in the meantime to be made that would allow for us to easily find it while we work on the website, which we have to pick up again anyway.
Yes, and one of the questions for HL7 Canada is where does their information go so it's findable? So that includes things like the terms of reference and other things that they're working on.
Yeah. Speaking of,
Yeah.
I think that should be posted for folks to just do an initial feedback and review of. I talked to him earlier this week from an HL7 Canada perspective, and he said he was going to be putting the post out. So keep an eye out for that next week.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. I know he's been buried in deliverable deadlines this week, so.
So we'll bring it up and just say like, hey, is one of the first things that we're asking. Can we have a good place for this? Cool. All right. Well, I'll let you guys off early then to enjoy your long weekends if there's nothing else that we want to make sure we talk on the agenda for. Okay.
Thank you.
I will
Bye.
stop sharing and see you guys next week.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.